dari Komplek Balai Budaya Minomartani Ngaglik Lembang. Inilah Radio BBM, jaringan radio komunitas Yogyakarta.
Radio Komunitas Balai Budaya Minomartani, Radio Budaya, Radio Warga, Radio Kita Bersama.
Community Radio BBM FM, Creation for Nation.
Radio Komunitas BBM FM, dukunglah budaya Indonesia.
Selamat sore warga budaya. Nama saya Melike and I am your host for today's broadcast on language and culture, the chicken and the egg. We'll be discussing Dutch sayings, for which I have a Dutch guest with me today. But before diving into today's program, please allow me to introduce myself, as I might be a new voice to some of you. So I'm an intern at vocational college Sekolah Vokasi at UGM for the next 9 weeks. This internship is part of my master's program in intercultural communication at Utrecht University in the Netherlands, where I live with my husband, who is Dutch, and the reason why I live in the Netherlands. Because this program is about culture, I just briefly want to present my own cultural background, because even though I've been in the Netherlands for the past 5 years, I do not consider myself Dutch. I am born and raised in Denmark, and my roots are from Turkey. My grandparents, they migrated to Denmark back in the 70s under the guest worker program. And this might be to some of you a bit of a strange term or a new term, and maybe it's a phenomenon mostly known in Europe. But the guest worker program refers to a period around the 1970s when Northern European countries invited labor from abroad here under Turkey. So I hope that wasn't too much information. It was just to give you a brief introduction of myself. Every Wednesday, I will host the program called Global Chain. And I will, for that, invite a new person in the studio every week to discuss topics relating to language and culture in Europe. And today, as I said, it is about Dutch sayings, and I have a Dutch guest with me, someone who is born and raised in the Netherlands, someone who happens to be my husband, the one that I moved to the Netherlands for. And it's interesting because on Dutch culture, we have a lot of interesting discussions of what I see and what he sees or what he so often doesn't see. And we're now in Jogja together for my internship. Please welcome Jan Kijke. Hi, Jan.
Hey, guys. Nice to be on this program.
How are you?
Good. Had a good day today. I'm working remotely from here.
Okay.
A very good situation going on that my employer allowed this even to happen.
Definitely.
And that I could join you on this Yogyakarta trip.
Yes.
Yeah, very excited.
Happy to have you in the studio.
Thank you.
A bit different to be interviewing you.
Yeah, true. It's different than our usual conversations over dinner.
Yeah, indeed. And yet not so much, because I think we have quite a fair share of cultural discussions over dinner.
Yeah, true. And I'm curious to hear today which things are very normal to me or in my daily life, what I don't see as linked maybe to a bigger picture of the culture of our Dutchies.
Yeah, I can imagine. And how do you feel about discussing Dutch sayings? How does that make you feel?
How does it make me feel? I do think that I do not use them a lot anymore, partially because, we speak English to each other. Mm-hmm. So, I could translate them directly, but that would rather make for a laugh than actually a good point.
Sure.
And I also believe, with my Dutch friends or people from my age, I think people use it less and less because they're a bit from the older days, or that's where they came from at least. But I do still hear them a lot on television or from my parents, older generations. Yeah. And still my generations also here and there.
Yeah. And I've chosen to discuss Dutch sayings because I think what I also said in the introduction, language and culture are so closely tied together. And what I've noticed traveling around is that sayings tend to say so much about the culture, and maybe you need to dive deep to understand it. Sometimes it's more obvious, and the reason why I call it the chicken and the egg is because of the whole discussion of whether the language shapes the culture or whether culture shapes the language. So I'm curious to see if we can unpack some of that today.
Yeah, and for me, right away comes to mind the examples you sometimes give for sayings that come from your Turkish side, which can often be very direct and intense.
Yeah.
And if I then think of the sayings that we have in Holland, in the Netherlands, they are, I think a bit less expressive like that, which to me then quite right away relates to differences in culture. So it's very interesting.
And what do you mean? Do you have an example of a Dutch or a Turkish saying that to you appears a bit direct?
Yeah, there's one you I don't think you use it a lot, but maybe parents do use it a lot. It's sayings that mean I would sacrifice myself for you.
Oh, yes.
And you say it to a child, or you say it to your little brother or something.
Yeah.
And in Holland we would never say it like that. We would just say, I care for you, or something like that.
That was a bit dramatic.
Yeah, and it goes a bit, from my perspective as a Dutchie, it goes sometimes a bit overboard, but that's, what I'm used to, of course.
Yes.
But I think it's beautiful on the other hand.
It's so interesting that you mentioned this one, because I wouldn't even have come up with it myself, because to me it's so normal. So it's a good example.
Which is, I think, also exactly what we will see today from my side, that, when you bring up a saying, it will be for me like, that is something just very normal, and I don't think more about it when someone says it. I just know what it means or what this person intends to say.
Okay. So let's just dive right into it. I've come up with a couple of sayings. I haven't come up with them. I've looked them up. I'll read them out in Dutch, and then I will directly translate them to English, and then the floor is yours to tell us all about what it means and what it means to you.
Let's go.
Yeah, so the first one comes here. In Dutch, it is de hond in de pot vinden. And it means to find the dog in the bowl. Is it a bowl? Is it a
pot?
Or a pot? Yeah. So what is that about?
So, what it means is that you arrive somewhere and you actually arrive late because there's nothing left of what you came there for, or it could be food, it could be other stuff, but it came from food, because the hond in to find the dog in the pot. The pot is like the pot of food, or which you made the food in.
Yeah. So you cook the food in the pot.
Yeah, yes. Exactly. And then let's say you come home of a long day of work, and you come home a bit late because you need to finish something, and you think, I'm hungry, I will come home and my family will be there, but your family is already done with dinner, they are done with eating, and you see the dog licking the leftovers
what
in
you
the
were
pot.
Supposed to have.
Exactly.
Okay.
There's nothing left for you anymore because you were too late. And that's a bit what it relates to, that you were too late, so there's nothing left for you.
Okay. And the whole notion of being late or being on time. So you've also done a fair share of traveling. You've also met my family that is Turkish, which is a very different perception of time. Can you comment a bit on that? Either, your own perception of time, frustrations when it's a different perception of time.
Yes, 100%. So, how I see Dutch culture is, if you agree to a time, you are on time there. So if you say we're there at 5, you are there at 5, rather even maybe a few minutes too early to make sure that you're on time. I think my mom is the best example here. She, if she says she will be somewhere at 5, she'll be there at least 15 minutes before.
Yes.
Especially with picking up for the airport, then it's half an hour. But so I think it's really in our culture to be on time, and that you say 3 o'clock, you mean 3 o'clock. Yeah. And it's considered rude if you're okay, let's say if you know people well, 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, they're fine. Yeah. And usually you would let them know also that if you would be running late. Yeah. But if you don't know them, business settings, stuff like that, you really need to make sure you're on time, because it's really a sign of you're not taking the meeting seriously.
Yeah.
You're not taking them seriously.
Yeah.
So that's really ingrained in them, and in me as well. Yeah, you know it. I like to be on time, and it's not that I per se, at least that's how I see it. It's not that I per se stress about it, but I make sure in my planning every time I will be in time.
Yeah.
And I rather have too much time to get somewhere than too little. And I see it in different cultures that it's completely different.
Indeed.
Even very close to the Netherlands, like France or Spain. Yeah, they take it more lightly, and they also don't understand when you're making a fuss about something if they are 50 minutes late.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for explaining.
You're welcome.
I'll jump to a shorter one just before the break, see if we can manage it. It is O op die fiets, and it means O on the bike.
Yeah, okay, so it's more like, on that bike.
Okay. On that bike.
So it's like a realization.
Okay.
Someone is explaining something to you, and the moment you get it, you say, on that bike, which makes no sense actually, because there's no bike there, or and the bike doesn't explain something to you, but it's more to say like, that's what you mean.
Yeah.
So, in that way.
Okay.
And bikes obviously are a big part of Dutch culture. So I think that's why maybe they switch it to a bike to really get that into our vocabulary as well, even more. But it just means realization.
Okay, so like understanding the point. That's what you mean.
Yeah.
On that bike.
Yeah, exactly. On that bike.
On that note, maybe in English it would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
On that
yeah,
note.
maybe, but it's a bit more like there could be 3 bikes and you meant that one. So on that bike.
On that bike. Okay.
So okay. It's quite a funny one.
That's a good one. Thanks for sharing. We'll have a quick break now, and then we'll discuss some more sayings when we come back from the break. Thank you for listening.
Dari Komplek Balai Budaya Minomartani Ngaglik Lembang, inilah Radio BBM, jaringan radio komunitas Yogyakarta.
Radio Komunitas Balai Budaya Minomartani. Radio Budaya, Radio Warga, Radio Kita Bersama.
Community Radio BBM FM, Creation for Nation.
Radio Komunitas BBM FM. Dukunglah budaya Indonesia. Radio Komunitas BBM FM. Dukunglah budaya Indonesia.
Selamat sore warga budaya, and welcome back to our broadcast today on language and culture, the chicken and the egg. We will continue with the Dutch sayings together with my husband Jan, who's sitting here with me, where we will go through, the explanations culturally and personally. So welcome back. We've already covered 2 sayings. We will go to the third one. And here it comes in Dutch first. Lange tenen hebben. And it means to have long toes. So, Jan, what is that all about?
I guess it's just very simple. We Dutchies are very big, right? So we have big feet. No. That's probably not what it is.
Or yes as well, but...
Yeah, it could be. No, so... Yeah, what it means is that, if you say to someone you have long toes, you're saying that they're sensitive to something. So they're and a bit oversensitive actually.
Okay.
Because of what you just said, and their response was something you didn't expect, and they overreacted a bit in your eyes. Obviously the toes are very sensitive, so I think that's where it comes from, that they chose the saying for the toes, because if you step on them right away, it hurts.
Yeah.
So yeah, being sensitive then relates to that. And I guess it comes from the Dutch being very direct. I think we sometimes also talk about this.
Yeah.
We even know that, in Europe, for the more southern countries, like Spain or France, in business settings, they really do not like it if you right away talk about the business. You first need to do a bit of chit-chat, get to know each other, maybe go out for a coffee first, and then you enter into the business conversations. Yeah, in the Netherlands, it's really seen as a waste of time.
Yeah.
You want to get right to the point. And of course, I'm generalizing because there are also situations where you would first, go for a coffee. But in general, it's very direct. And you talk about the topic you want to discuss, and the rest is a bit, useless or not necessary to talk about.
Yeah.
So then when when you are being direct to someone, and that someone is not taking it very well, they don't want you to be direct, they feel that it's a bit rude, so they respond to that in a sensitive way, or like they show that they don't like it. That stands out for the general population who can take these direct comments. And it even made me think, like, in my group of friends, people always say we joke very harshly with each other. It's almost like we're roasting each other.
Yeah.
And sometimes
I feel like I can confirm on that one.
So we're really testing each other from when we're young on to that we grow older. And it's maybe a bit, in some sense, to get you ready for the outside world, where people are going to be direct who don't even know you, because why should they be like covering things with a blanket of sweetness when they don't know you, they don't have a relationship with you. So it's even funny that sometimes when parents of some friends of mine see how we interact with each other, they really say, like, well, you're so harsh to each other, it's sometimes really like you don't like each other. But that's the way we're used to it, and quite getting us ready for the direct Dutch culture.
Okay.
Outside the...
So being harsh to each other to prep for the real life.
Exactly.
Out there.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. We'll jump right on to the next one, which in Dutch is iemand achter het behang plakken. And it means, how I understand it, is to tape someone behind the what is that called? Wallpaper, or to like put them behind the wallpaper. What is that about?
Yeah.
Interesting one.
It is a very interesting one. And to be honest, I don't see many houses being built anymore with wallpaper.
No.
It's usually like a nicely painted wall, or even an industrial look with a few stones you still see. But so also this one obviously comes from some time ago. What it actually means is that you say it to, usually I think, to a child or to a pet, maybe a dog, something that you do care about a lot, but your patience at that moment has run out. Yeah. So at that moment you don't want to like never see them anymore. You don't want to hit them, or it goes quite far, obviously. But you don't want to do anything very harsh or put them out of the house, but you do want to for a bit not see them. Yeah. So that's what it means, that you want to still have them in the house, so to say, but you put them behind the wallpaper. So you don't need to see them. Exactly. Your patience has run out, and it's still saying about someone that you care about or something that you care about. But at that moment, please leave me alone. It's a bit...
It's a good one. Yeah. I like it. Can I also use it to you, or is it only to kids and dogs?
No, if you would say you love me, you could say it to me, because you say it to things that you love and that you would still want in your life, but maybe not that moment.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you for sharing. Another one in Dutch is met je neus in de boter vallen, and that means with your nose in the butter falling, and less directly translated is to falling into the butter with your nose. Yes. Is that about food, or what is that? What is the meaning of this?
Yeah, so this one you shared with me beforehand, and actually, of course I know what it means. It means that by merely being someone, you got lucky and either you won something or there's something going on there that you can join, something like that. So that's the meaning of it. You just got lucky. That's a bit what it's saying. Without working hard for it or without really doing something for it that made you earn this. It's just you fall with your nose in the butter. It's not something you did, but apparently when they made this up, they thought it was nice to be with your nose in the butter.
I guess.
I don't know. I guess butter is really delicious like that. I don't know. But yeah, that's a bit what it means. But because you shared it with me before, and I didn't know where it would actually come from, if it would have to do with food or not. So I looked the origin up.
Okay, interesting.
And it does have to do. Yeah, the origin is about food. So apparently in the 17th century, during the fasting period, you were not allowed to eat meat or dairy products.
And fasting period, we're not talking about Islam. We're talking about in the Catholic faith that you're fasting before Carnival. After Carnival, before Easter.
Yeah, before. Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So yeah, and at that moment you then weren't allowed to eat meat or dairy products, like butter or eggs, stuff like that.
Okay.
But if you had enough money, you could get a note which was called the butter note.
Okay.
With which you were exempted from this, so you could get meat and dairy products.
Oh, so if you had enough money, you could get around.
Yeah, you could get around this.
What a classic situation.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, if you just have enough money, you can have everything.
Yep.
So yeah, that's where it came from, the butter note. That's how they called it apparently.
Okay.
And yeah, if you then fall with your nose in the butter during a time that nobody else has it, yeah, you can have it.
Okay. And what's interesting to me about this saying is obviously, so I've come to the Netherlands much later. I've been in the Netherlands now for 5 years. So I sometimes pick up on things that might be, so they're true to me, might not be to you. But what I've noticed is I find Dutch people extremely hardworking. So this made sense. This made sense to me in a sense of saying, well, if you have something that you haven't worked for, that's not worth as much as if you've worked for it. So I see hard work being rewarded a lot in the Netherlands, and not so much rewarding people that have wealth from family or stuff like that. So I don't know if you recognize this.
I do see what you mean. Yeah, I do think Dutch people are a hardworking culture. You see it on the hours of a work week.
Yeah.
You see it on the stress levels actually as well. So I do agree with that. To me, the saying from the person that falls with his nose in the butter, that person does not per se feel that it's something he shouldn't have.
No.
It's not something he feels that he values less because he didn't work for it. He just feels lucky. Yeah. But the saying is said from the person who sees that other person falling with his nose in the butter, getting something that he didn't work for. So that person has a little bit of a negative connotation to it, maybe. Like
is it jealousy?
A bit jealousy.
Is it jealousy?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, good one. The next one, and I'll pronounce it in Dutch, is nie geschoten is altijd mis. And it means, as far as I understand, that if you haven't shot, it's always a miss. Is that correctly translated?
Yeah, so if you haven't taken the shot, you will always miss.
Okay.
Which I think doesn't need much explanation, right? So you miss all the shots you don't take.
Yeah.
So taking a chance, that's really the thought behind it. And how I see it is, it really relates to, for me, to Dutch culture being very, I think most people are very entrepreneurial, like they want to take a chance of making something for themselves, or like we said just now with the hard working. They really, I think, really value taking the risk for getting a greater reward.
Okay, so is it also rewarded to take a chance?
Yeah, I think so. And I think because they they live in a country, how I at least see it, who has still a good structure or system that if you fail, you are not left on the street right away. You have some, social or how would you say this, backup systems from the government, socially, as a sort of, what would you call it, like safety net, that you can use to recover for a bit and then take another chance. So they really, I think, try to promote that people try and make something, and be a bit opportunistic, I think.
Yeah. Okay, I really like that. I really like that saying.
Yeah.
And the philosophy behind
so
it.
Glass half full. No?
Glass half full.
Yeah, glass half full, not half empty.
I'm not sure I agree that one fits here, but let's go with it. Okay. The next one, to me, is funny because it includes cheese in the word, and I think the Netherlands is so internationally known for cheese. So in itself, that to me is just beautiful. And it sounds ergens geen kaas van hebben gegeten. And it means that you haven't had the cheese of it yet. Is that correctly translated?
Yeah, so I think there is no correct translation because this one...
It's quite a Dutch construction, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Because the first word, ergens, means somewhere.
Okay.
But you cannot say you haven't somewhere eaten any cheese from it.
No.
It doesn't make sense. So
okay. Bit of an old way, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's still like the sentence construction is still used like this in Holland, but you just cannot translate. But what it comes down to is you haven't eaten the cheese from it means like the thing you're talking about now or what you're doing, you actually don't know anything about.
Okay.
So you're not an expert of it. You haven't tasted it yet.
Okay.
What you're actually talking about. So maybe like a sports commentator who has never played the sport himself, completely giving his opinions about what the players should do and stuff like that. It's sometimes the players themselves, they really feel like, but you haven't eaten any cheese from this. Like you don't know how it is.
Interesting.
Yeah, and the funny thing obviously is the cheese in there that we as the Dutchies choose to say cheese here, because you could have said, I don't know, bread, but bread is also something we eat a lot. But you could use anything, but it just means that you don't know what you're talking about. And in Holland we all eat cheese, so
yes, definitely. And I'm curious, so looking at what it means and the soccer commentator, I think it's a really good example. Are there any other examples where you see that it is maybe different in other cultures, where you see that it isn't so important to have had the cheese of it yet? For example, anywhere where you've thought, oh, that's interesting that this person gets to have a say without having a bite of the cheese yet, sort to say.
No, I'm not sure if I can come up with an example or a memory for that.
No.
I do think, because of the direct culture in the Netherlands, that if we feel like you're not on top of the subject that you're talking about or what you're doing, it will be called out. Or maybe it could be that we don't say it, but we will think like, okay, what was this guy doing? Just talking about something that he doesn't know anything about. Rather say, okay, you can ask an expert or something. You can ask for help left and right, but don't pretend like you're like better than you are.
And that's really interesting. That instantly reminded me a bit of, so in Denmark, I believe in Denmark we're also very direct culture. It's very common to call the prime minister out. It's very common to say, hey, prime minister, you haven't had a bite of the cheese yet. You don't know what you're talking about, and questioning the prime minister and saying, prove it, do the research, all of these things. So that also, like, even to the highest power, so to say, which maybe even in our country sounds so dramatic to call them that, then questioning as well, and then questioning knowledge. is even also common.
Yeah, I agree.
You cannot hide behind the status.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree. And you would rather hear from the president saying like, for example, the coronavirus, we have certain institutions that know about this stuff. So the president shouldn't say like, I think this is the fact or this and this. No, we have done research. Department that we trust has the knowledge on this, tells us this. Okay, we think about it, how we should interpret that, and then we put it into a certain policy. That way, you show that you know where your strengths and weaknesses are, and you're open about it. I think that's what people, in the Netherlands appreciate.
Yeah. Interesting. And it immediately takes me back to certain trips that we have been on where we have booked a guide, and I now realize that so often after such a tour you comment on this guide's knowledge in the sense of saying he really knows what he is talking about. So that all sort of clicks now.
Yeah, that's funny that is what you think of.
That
I do
is
really
important.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
The next two are a bit linked. They're different in meaning, what I understand, but as they are both referring to the same food, we'll put them together. So the first one is appeltje eitje, which means little apple, little egg, and the second one is voor een appel en een ei, which means for an apple and an egg.
Yeah.
So why are they both with apples and eggs, and what do they mean?
Yeah, the funny thing is that these two already give like a smile on my face because I don't know, I just like them a lot.
Yeah.
I hear them being used still everywhere.
Yes, I do as well.
Sometimes
it was the first one I apologized. It was the first one I was taught by your parents.
Yeah, cool. But yeah, sometimes a bit as a joke, but also a lot of times very accurately because they make sense to us. So the first one you said, appeltje eitje, it's actually not per se little apple, little egg, but we put tje, like T-J-E, behind a lot of words to make it either smaller, but also to make something that you're saying with it sound smaller. So not per se the object itself, but what you're saying. And appeltje eitje, it really means that it was easy. And why they chose apple and an egg? Yeah, it's a guessing game for me, I think. And also, the other one is also for an apple and an egg. That means that something is super cheap.
Yeah.
So cheap and easy.
Yeah.
It is a bit in the same category. So I guess it comes from a time, from my interpretation, that apples and eggs, we have them in our country.
Yes.
Maybe they're in abundance. They were very cheap. So if you could do something for an apple and an egg,
perfect.
It was very cheap, or it was either very easy. So, and I think really, appeltje eitje, it also just sounds very cheerful. And you say it to someone when they are giving you a compliment, for example, that you did something, and you say, appeltje eitje. Like, it was easy for me.
Yeah. And something I'll link it to is that I've noticed in the Netherlands, and again, so just my experience, regardless of class or wealth, I find it very much okay to say, I paid very little for this, because paying little for something seems like a positive thing. It means that you did something smart. While I've also experienced in other cultures that paying a lot for it. I will even go as far as to say I think in my Turkish family, or like in Turkish culture, it can be positive to say you've paid a lot for it, because it means you have the money to pay a lot. But I've really noticed in the Netherlands, in my experience, that it's much better to pay little because you've made a good bargain, you've done something good, you've taken care of your money. So maybe that's an interesting one. Maybe you can comment a bit on that. Yeah,
that's actually really a good realization that you just gave me, because I didn't think about it like this, but it really makes sense. For me also, I want value for my money, and I really, maybe I have this also very much from my dad. He makes it a game to get the best deal anywhere. Yeah. And to even as far as when we would be on a holiday with my parents and my sister when I was young, he would be bargaining and then at some point even just walk away because
part of the game.
That was part of his game, and it didn't matter that, he could have paid those €2 extra, but that was for him more fun and part of it to really appreciate then what he buys, to really get that. So I do really relate to that. That how do you say this? That definition or meaning behind this for an apple and an egg. Yeah, if you can get something somewhere cheaper, you're doing a good job.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Also, a fun realization back and forth. That's how it goes. Yeah. Sometimes you need to be out of that culture in the sense of not being brought up in it for you to see other things.
True.
The last one I want to discuss in Dutch is nu komt de aap uit de mouw. And what it means is now the ape or the monkey is coming out of the sleeve. So there is a monkey coming out of the sleeve. When does the monkey come out of the sleeve? What does that mean?
Yeah. So we don't really have monkeys in Netherlands, so I don't know why they chose a monkey, but I guess it's a bit like an artist thing or like a showman's performance, and then he pulls a monkey out of his sleeve,
Okay.
That's a bit the idea I get behind it, but that the meaning of it is when you say this to a person, oh, now the monkey comes out of the sleeve, I see your true intentions. Mm-hmm. Like you have told me something, or you wanted to take me somewhere or whatever, and you've said like something really good for me, and then I go with you, and then in the end it turns out you had a certain play with it, you had a certain reason for doing this, and which would be an advantage for you. So let's make it a marriage example. If I say to you, hey, you haven't seen this friend for a while, why don't you make a date with her tomorrow evening, and then you could see each other again? Wouldn't that be nice? And you think, oh, what an attentive husband. He really thinks about my relationships, and he wants me to see my friends. And then you make this date, and it turns out the Champions League final was that evening. I just wanted to have the house for myself.
You wanted the TV to yourself.
Exactly.
Oh.
So I wanted you out of the house.
Okay.
And when you have made this date and you come back and you see me sitting on the couch watching this with a few friends, and then you say to me, now the monkey comes out of the sleeve.
Okay, that was a little monkey trick.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know which monkey could fit in the sleeve, but
there are some small ones out there.
True. That's true.
Okay, thank you for sharing all the explanations and examples of the sayings. I feel I'm sure after this broadcast, on our way home from the studio, we'll be discussing a lot more, because this always brings out some good laughs, I think. That is actually it for today. I'm super curious to see comments on any Javanese sayings, any Bahasa Indonesian sayings, any other sayings from other languages that you would like to share or find interesting. So very curious to hear that. For the rest, thank you to Warga Budaya for listening, for everyone for listening. And our apologies for any mispronunciations or misinterpretations that might have occurred during the program. We're just trying to share our experiences, nothing more, nothing less. For now, take care, and I'll speak to you again on Friday. Sampai jumpa di siaran berikutnya. Bye-bye.
Dari Komplek Balai Budaya Minomartani Ngaglik Lembang, inilah Radio BBM, jaringan radio komunitas Yogyakarta.
Community Radio BBM FM, Creation for Nation.
Radio Komunitas BBM FM. Dukunglah budaya Indonesia.
Terima kasih. Anda sedang mendengarkan Radio Komunitas BBM FM 107,7 MHz.
Dipancarkan dari kawasan Balai Budaya Minomartani, Radio Komunitas BBM FM.
Selamat jumpa warga budaya. You are listening to BBM FM Community Radio, Yogyakarta, Indonesia.